What's good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's daily NBA betting podcast. We're in the workshop Tuesday, NBA slate, two-man weave. I am Sean Little, your host, with my guy, Orlando's own, the Magic Man, Brandon Kravitz. Little four-game mini slate. So we're going to get in, get out. You know how we do. We'll give you the plays, we'll give you the cap, we'll get you guys out of here. 3-star, 2-star, 1-star is how we're going to do it. First, we'll kick it off with a little bit of what we learned. We'll close it with a king of the court. A couple superstars will be on the floor tomorrow, even though it's a four-game slate. All four games, big numbers, 7.5-point favorites or greater in these four matchup. We'll still break them down. BK, Brandon Kravitz, what's going on, baby?
Well, I just had a thrilling night out at Kia Center watching the Milwaukee Bucks attempt to play basketball. That is, I don't know how that team won 3 games in a row. They have zero offensive identity. It's just a bunch of guys out there that do have ability. They each have their own unique skill set. Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr. hits a ton of tough shots. AJ Green might be the silkiest three-point shooter that I have seen in person this year. The ball just sounds different when it hits the net. He's one of those guys that it just makes that extra pop when it goes through and it never touches rim. Yeah. They all have the ability to be a good team, but they don't have any sort of connector that brings it all together. And so it just kind of falls apart like a house of cards. Franz Wagner makes a huge difference for the Magic. So if we're talking lessons learned, that's one that we already knew. It's more reaffirming than anything else. But your boy's on a slide right now. I had a rough night betting the association. And Sean, I don't know if it's just variance smacking you in the face, because sometimes process is right, and it's just you're just never going to be profitable every single day that you do this. That's impossible. But I think part of it might also be timing, because things started to fall apart for me the last couple of days where, I'm down 2 units, I'm down 3 units after a slate when the trade deadline hit. I don't think I have a good wrangle on these teams that made deals. And so you have that collection of teams. Then you've got the collection of teams that are so silly in the way that they are starting to operate. The teams that are in tank mode have entered it at a different level right now. And trying to figure that out, and then they might even go ahead and mess around and win games too, like the Utah Jazz did against Miami. So I feel a little bit lost right now betting this league, but hopefully we just kind of find our footing here before the break.
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, the variance is always a thing, but yeah, man, the funky week of leading up to the trade deadline and then a couple games, 3, 4, 5 games after, you're trying to figure out how teams are approaching games, how coaches are approaching rotations, if these new guys want to even be at their new place. It's kind of one of those spots where you maybe want to avoid teams that made a lot of moves and give it a little time where you can figure out how they're going to approach and what they go about, or how they go about their business with this new team. I think a perfect example is the Chicago Bulls. Clearly, the bookmakers and the bettors can't figure out like what to do with totals with this team unless you're really close with the Bulls like I am. Like my 2 squads are the Bulls and the Knicks. And after those Bulls trades went through and the jokes were done, this could be part of what we learned and what we are learning going around the trade deadline and post trade deadline. So the segment of what did you learn has started, ladies and gentlemen. But in the group chats of just me and the guys talking ball, the first thing we said about Chicago was these guys are going to give up 135 points a night. Like, I don't know where they're going to get a stop ever. And since 2-3, 2 days before the trade deadline, they've gone 4 straight overs. Over 222.5. It finished against Milwaukee, 246. Number closed 227 versus Toronto. That goes over. They scored 230. Denver, they're like, okay, let's beef this up. 235.5. Denver's going to come in and hang a big number. But Denver also sometimes isn't interested in playing defense either. They went for 256 in that matchup. Brooklyn, well, like the Brooklyn Nets haven't scored on anybody. Cam Thomas is out of town. The rotation is all over the place. They give up 123 points to the Nets.
And that was without Michael Porter Jr. and without Yegor Dioman too. So like those are the two guys that do all the scoring. I was on Chicago tonight, -4. It drops to 3 before tip-off. And I'm like, how in the world? I guess Chicago is that bad. They had no answer for the front court. That was part of it.
Yeah, no, Claxton and those guys were giving them a lot of trouble. And sometimes you just look at numbers too, and it's like, dude, the Chicago Bulls have no right and do not deserve to lay 4 to anyone in the NBA on the road. I don't care if it's Brooklyn or not. That was kind of the spot that we're at today. But yeah, like the Chicago Bulls, I think the rest of the way are going to give up loads and loads of points. It might be a spot to take a look at on totals, props, because defensively they just have no size and not a lot of guards that want to play D either. So keep an eye on that. 4 straight overs for the Chicago Bulls. That's what I've learned. And I've also learned that everyone's going to be talking about the fight in Charlotte, Brandon.
Yeah, we got
forget about like the fight was awesome. Whatever. I love the passion. I love the energy. I'm not saying it's awesome that Stewie is running off the bench and, but he's protecting his guys. Detroit is here and ready for it. They're up for it. And Charlotte's up for it. A month ago, this wouldn't even been a thing because Charlotte wouldn't even be taken seriously enough to get in a scrap with. The fact is, so I guess I learned 2 things. That Charlotte just takes themselves very seriously. Charles Lee also got ejected post-fight. He believes this team can compete, just like a lot of people. And we were a little early on the Charlotte Hornets here at Buckets. But so everyone's going to talk about the fight. What I want to talk about is Jalen Duren offensively. If you haven't been paying attention, his bag is extensive all of a sudden. It's not putbacks. He's not at the rim only laying the ball up now. The reason the scrap started is because Jalen Duren was fucking killing them on offense. Absolutely going berserk. And Diabate had enough of it. Duren got to his spot, wherever he wanted to go, made a move. Diabate fouls him. And then Duren kind of they chirped a little bit. And then, they butt heads and then it turns into a scrap. So what I learned is Charlotte, to get into a scrap, you got to be taking yourself very seriously to go back and forth and chirp with one of the best teams in the league and the top team in the East. That's exactly what the Hornets are doing. And also what was confirmed for me, and I talked about it earlier in the year, Jalen Duren offensively, he's getting to the free throw line. He's a lot better offensively than people realize.
So I like the passion. I'm with you on that. I do worry. It looks like Duren instigated this. So I don't want to put this all on Bridges, but he definitely took it to the next level. The second you throw a punch, we've now hit the next level of all of this. Beef stew coming off the bench is the least surprising thing I've ever seen. They could have had that man down the road. He could have been in the rafters. He would have found his way onto the basketball court. So no surprise there. But if you're a serious basketball team, not a highly competitive playoff contending team, I'm talking about a serious championship team. And we don't expect that from Charlotte just yet, though it seems like they think that. We do expect that from Detroit right now. This just isn't the kind of business you find yourself in. You don't see a lot of those top tier teams getting in fistfights. It feels like kids stuff. Like it's fun for an NBA fan, and it does exude a bit of passion for the game that we can appreciate. But that level of nasty, like it's not the 80s. The bad boy Pistons days are over. I just think that shows a level of immaturity that could show itself in a bad way in the postseason.
Yeah, I think you
You
can
look
write
like
it.
you disagree wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah, you can write it that way. I think you can angle it any way you want, but I think Diabate had enough of that shit. Duran was doing whatever he wanted. Diabate had enough. So here's a hard foul. I'm not just gonna let you lay the ball up. I think the part of what I'm getting at too is like I think previously they would have just let Duran continue to do whatever he wanted. Like there's no reason to foul him hard and slow him up. There was no reason to chirp back and forth because like we're the Hornets and we have no direction in our franchise. We're not a unit at all. They were up for the game, up for that situation. And yeah, I mean, look, I think discipline has always been a thing surrounding LaMelo Ball as well. But I think overall, I took it as like you're not just gonna come into fucking Charlotte anymore, get to any spot you want, lay the ball up, and nothing's gonna happen. Like you're at least gonna have to get a hard foul and go to the free throw line. And I'll chirp with you about it. So that was more what I took from it. But
Yeah,
I do hear
and
what you're saying.
I can respect that. For Charlotte, that makes a lot more sense to take that sort of tact because they're not a championship team. So that who cares if we say that is not befitting of a top tier team? They're not one. They're still working their way up to that. And I think what you said is spot on as far as the Charlotte angle of it. I just worry about Detroit because Detroit's the team that we think might actually be able to represent the Eastern Conference. And if they get caught up in this, if other teams know I can instigate them to the point of violence, they're going to take advantage of that. And if Duran's putting his hand in other people's faces and I've got Beef Stew coming off of the bench, teams are going to take advantage of that in a 7-game series. I worry about this more from the Detroit side than I do from the Charlotte side. I do like that Charlotte is taking themselves seriously.
3-star, 2-star, 1-star. Let's get right into it. Brandon Kravitz, 4-game mini slate, all big favorites. Where are you going? Give me your 3-star for the Tuesday NBA slate.
Yeah, I of the last couple of days, I've run hot over the last month, and so part of this is just simply variance, as we talked about. So there's a lot less, but I've been piss poor the last couple of days, so this is not layered with as much confidence as I've had recently. But I'm going to go with the Indiana Pacers team total under at 105.5, taking on the New York Knicks. You can get that at minus 105. This is another one of those teams. We're talking about teams that we're just not really sure that they're putting their best foot forward these days, and they continue to drop like flies. Johnny Furphy now out, and without Mathurin, they just don't have that microwave scorer. My power rating is pretty much in agreement with the market, with the Knicks being 12.5-point favorites here. But this is a way of betting on the Knicks without laying that fat of a number, because I see this game going two ways that gives me an out here. Either Indiana drags the Knicks down into the mud and this game is disgusting and the Pacers cover the spread, but the game is like 98 to 87 kind of thing. Or the Knicks do what we expect them to do in this matchup and just absolutely throttle the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers offense has been especially brutal lately. I mean, they've had a hard time all year cracking out of the bottom 5, and lately they've just kind of stayed there. Over the last 5 games, they have the 24th offense in the NBA. I think they're really going to struggle to score, and this is a bet on them not having anybody to rely on offensively, and the Knicks defense has been suffocating lately. So give me the Pacers team total under 105.5.
Yeah, we're correlated here. That leads me right into my 3-star pick. I'm going to go Andrew Nembhard, under 10.5 rebounds plus assists, minus 130. Find the best number you can. I think there's a better number out there as we record this on Monday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Find the best number. But Andrew Nembhard, under 10.5 rebounds plus assists, minus 130 is where I'm going to bet it at. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to say is going to support Kravitz as well. But overall, let's talk about Nembhard and what he's been doing the last couple games. 3 straight games in February, he's gone under this number. Coming back down to earth a bit on production, he had an absolute monster January where he averaged 9 dimes 4 rebounds, 18 and a half points in January. He was on an absolute tear. Like 16, 15, 18, 18. He had 4 straight games to close out January, and that's a combined over rebounds and assists. I think he's coming back down to earth a little bit now, as we were just speaking on leading up to the trade deadline, post-trade deadline. They add Zubac. They're getting ready for next season. I'm not sure how much Carlisle and the Pacers are interested in running up minutes on a lot of these guys and competing, if we're being completely honest. So they're a part of that group that is not interested in wins, trying to get a good draft position and just set things up for next year. And I think that's part of the production drop off for Nembhard here recently. Even though it's only been 3 games, I still think we're an adjustment needs to be made. The number is a little inflated, even though it's expensive. They're nervous. The bookmakers nervous to come off that 10.5 number because of the production that he had in January. Now it's 11.5 point spread. Kravitz talked about them getting absolutely throttled. If it gets out of hand, I think Nembhard's one of the first guys off the floor. We're going to see a lot of Cam Jones minutes. We're going to see a lot of Ben Shepherd minutes. A lot of other guys getting tick that could affect this overall team total and this under 10.5 points plus or rebounds plus assists for Nembhard. McConnell and Nesmith both questionable on the report. I absolutely love this if they both go. If they both go, it just a little bit of ball handling comes off of Nembhard as well, and just some looks offensively with Nesmith. Now, I guess it does help if Nesmith doesn't go for the offensive production side specifically, but if both don't go, great spot I think here for Nesmith to go into this number. Now, when we talk about the matchup, BK alluded to it. Knicks have been absolutely lights out defensively. Last 10 games, they're first in the NBA, giving up 100 points per 100 possessions. Last 4 games at home, and the reason I made it 4 games is because I didn't want to add that Brooklyn Nets game in where the Nets scored like 25 points in the entire game. So last 4 games, though, still second in the NBA, 102 points, 102.8 points per 100 possessions. They've been absolutely lights out defensively. Buckets are going to be hard to come by for the Pacers, and in tow, hard for Nembhard to create those buckets. So the glass as well, even with Mitch Robinson out, top 4 rebounding percentage the last 10, and the Knicks play deathly slow in their building. The last 10, they're 28th in pace. So they're going to clean up the glass. They're going to play defense. Pacers are going to be having a hard time scoring. Potentially a blowout where Nembhard gets less minutes. Everything lines up here for Nembhard to have a low production game like he's had the last 3. I like this spot. Give me under 10.5 rebounds plus assists for Andrew Nembhard.
Got a nice little SGP brewing right here, the way that we put those two together. You're right. And the Knicks have been elite all year in terms of rebounding. And if they're not able to score, hard to get assists when the guys around you can't make a bucket. So these two should go hand in hand. Should also be mentioned as far as the Pacers these last couple of games. They scored 99 points against the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, I just watched this team up close and personal. They play 0 defense. They scored 104 against the Raptors. That's a little more understandable, but the Knicks have been playing significantly better defense than those two teams. So we expect some suppression for these Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, 99 on the road in Milwaukee, 104 in Toronto, and then now you have to go to New York, 3rd straight road game in their building where they've been lights out defensively. I don't see them scoring a lot of points in this spot. So, yeah, give me Andrew Nembhard under 10.5 rebounds plus assists. All right, BK, give me your 2-star bet for the Tuesday NBA slate.
All right, let's look the way of the Clippers plus 7.5 against these Houston Rockets. You basically have to decide whose recent win you're buying into more and which is more likely to have a potential negative effect on the following game, because these two teams are coming off of some big time wins. You have Houston off of that win against OKC at OKC, and you have the Clippers, who just traded James Harden, coming off of a win where they blew out the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards in the game. And if I'm saying one of these is going to take away and potentially be detrimental to your progress and your productivity moving forward, I think it's a game against OKC. I mean, it's like going up against one of the top defenses in the NFL and then having to re-rack it and play somebody else the very next week. It just takes so much energy to take these teams down. And then there's the natural letdown factor. There is no bigger win in the NBA right now than beating OKC on their home floor. And now you've got the Clippers coming to town, who we're not even sure are a serious operation. On top of that, the Rockets lately, yes, they have a win against OKC, but if you take a slightly wider view, this team has not been that good lately. Overall net rating since over the last 5 games, they are 3-2. Their net rating is minus 3.5. That's 20th in the NBA. I'm not sure that they should be laying multiple possessions here against a team that still has Kawhi. And I love betting on Kawhi Leonard when I get Kawhi on a mission. I get mission Kawhi, who is out here to prove who needs all these other players around me. I'll do it my damn self. Scored 41 in his last game. Give me the Clippers plus 7.5, and I'll go ahead and throw my 1-star out there too, because I'm just going to take a sprinkle on them on the money line as well. If they keep it close, and if Kawhi is playing like the Claw, then they can absolutely win this game. Huge letdown spot for the Rockets. Clippers plus 250 on the money line. We'll throw a quarter unit on that as well.
Yeah, and they eked that game out as well, the Rockets versus OKC, without SGA on the floor. So
Yep.
it was – I think there's some underlying things going on in Houston from a lot of different aspects, especially Durant. If you listen to the Zach Lowe podcast, recent episode, they talked about Durant's body language and just overall how he's feeling. The mojo overall around Şengün, and we heard the comments from Emeka Ime Udoka, talking about Şengün not playing defense, not showing effort. So it's not all roses out there in Houston. Just offensively, they just struggle to put the ball in the hoop. And that was supposed to be the thing that Durant came and fixed. And it's looking like they need a little bit more help than just Durant patching up the offensive woes that the Rockets have currently. So,
well, when they made that move, they were not anticipating their starting point guard being out.
Yeah.
And not having Fred VanVleet has proven to be a real negative for them. I think it's finally caught up. And Reed Shepherd's been nice, but VanVleet, they just haven't really found a replacement for him.
Yeah, nothing addressed at the deadline either, which was interesting because it's pretty clear like what they needed. That's my biggest pet peeve for my teams is like, I don't know if you guys aren't watching the same game as the rest of the fucking city, but we clearly have a hole here. How about you address it at the break? If you think we're a team that can actually compete and win in the West, go get some more offense. Go get another ball handler, because it's very clear that's what we need, and they didn't address it at all. So we'll see.
Amen. The Magic are still one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA. There's three-point shooters everywhere on bad teams that I'm sure would love to just have a pick of some sort. And I had a chance to talk to the GM about it, and I said, why wasn't anything done at the deadline? And he said, well, you got to understand that in order to make a move, we've got to blow up the core, and we're just not ready to do that. It's like, I don't think there's full understanding of what is being asked from the fans here. It's not get rid of Jalen Suggs or Franz. It's add a three-point shooter.
It's add AJ Green.
Boom. AJ Green, Io DeSumo. Like, these guys, you don't have to trade Paolo to get these guys.
Right. Exactly right. Go get a guy that could shoot it off the bench and just bring some volume and some shooting when you need it. And yeah, man, that's probably my biggest pet peeve in sports, where it's like, I don't know. Are you guys not watching the same games as us? Because it's pretty fucking clear we need shooting or offense, and it's not addressed. And then you're spitting in our face telling us that we're going to compete, and we're not competing because we don't have said hole filled. So yeah, I hear you loud and clear about Orlando and what they got going on going forward. So my 2-star. Oh, last point on that. The only thing that makes me a little nervous is I love Kawhi on a mission as well. The mission for the Rockets is going to be to stop one guy. They have to slow up one dude. And then it's like you're looking at John Collins. You're hoping Collins scores like 25. That's the only thing that makes me a little nervous about that. But Kawhi doesn't seem to be fazed by guys getting traded. Doesn't really care, man. You don't even hear from Kawhi. He just shows up, plays ball, whatever. Who's here? Who's not? I'll do whatever's necessary. So let's hope we can cash the Clippers +7 and a hook. All right, for my 2-star.
When he plays, that's the key. When you get a motivated and active Kawhi Leonard, that's when you want to back the Clippers. But don't worry, if we start to see him, dazed and confused, we'll start looking elsewhere because the Clippers they're very, very one-dimensional in that way.
No question. Like always, keep your eye on the injury report there. As we record this the night prior, 15 minutes short of midnight on the East Coast. All right, my 2-star play is Josh Hart, over 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists PRA against the Indiana Pacers. Now, quietly, Josh Hart's been having a lot of success offensively for his standard over the last 6 games. 4 of them he scored 19 plus, and then the other 2 games where he quote unquote struggled or didn't put up big numbers, they were both blowouts. They blew out Washington by 31, and then they got absolutely torched by the Pistons 118-80. And they just never were in the game, so Josh Hart was never in the game. Outside of that, if you go back to 128 versus Toronto, he had 22, 6, and 5. That's over this number. At home versus Portland, he had 26 and 5. That's over this number. Versus the Lakers, he had 24 and 6. That's just over this number. And then against Boston, he's coming off 19, 6, and 3, where he was super efficient offensively, 7 of 14 from the floor, got a lot of looks. Now, when we're talking about the injury report, OG Anunoby is on it as questionable. Mitch Robinson is out. If OG is out for this game, I love this spot. Just like I like Nembhard if McConnell and Nesmith don't go. I love this spot for Josh Hart if OG Anunoby doesn't go with Mitch Robinson being out. He's going to be asked to pick up all of that slack, and you can always count on Josh Hart for 30-plus minutes. So offensively, he's been playing really well. He looks really confident shooting the rock. He was catching – he caught a 3 in the corner the other night on an inbound play and was almost fading out of bounds, and it was all nylon. So offensively, he's been very, very confident shooting the rock. So I'm going to back Josh Hart here versus a wide-open Pacers team where he should be able to impact, especially if OG Anunoby doesn't go. This is a spot where I wouldn't be shocked if Josh Hart had a triple-double. So I'm gonna back Hart here coming off a really good game versus Boston. And he'll get 30, 35 minutes here versus Indianapolis, hopefully. We'll see.
I might have to take a look at that triple-double number because that is intriguing. It's so these Knicks guys, it's so dependent on who's in and who's out because it seems like the rebounds for the most part are funneled to a couple of players. And
no doubt.
And if Josh Hart has to go out there and it's him and Cat, it's just going to be those 2 guys are guaranteed to hit double digits. The unders hit on this in 9 of the last 15, but as you said, it's so specific to who's out there and also the matchup because we expect a beatdown in this game against the Pacers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So yeah, give me Josh Hart on the PRA over 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. All right, I'll close it out with my 1-star. I'm gonna go with the square ass rookie amateur ass. I've never bet before. This is free money, right? Parlay. That's what I'm gonna do. Knicks money line versus the Pacers. Rockets money line versus the Clippers. Spurs money line versus the Lakers on a back-to-back. +110 is the number I saw. Get the best number you can. 1-star play, small play. Don't get in the habit of just firing on big favorites and then parlaying them. But the Knicks have been playing lights out at home. I don't see a path for the Pacers to get a W in that spot. The Rockets are playing the Clippers. They only have to slow up one guy, as I mentioned, in Kawhi. I think they should be able to get a W at home there. Hopefully they keep it close. And Kravitz and I can both cash the bigger star plays. And then Lakers on a back-to-back. They look really good right now. They're playing Oklahoma City. They're up 5 in the third quarter, 4 minutes left. They're going to be on a back-to-back, especially if this game gets drawn out and gets real tight late. I think Spurs coming off rest with that rest advantage. They're 8.5-point favorites. We don't know. We know where LeBron James is at on back-to-backs. He may not even go. So Luka's still going to be out. That's going to be a lot to be asked of Austin Reeves. Him just getting back in the fold as well. So square lay, amateur lay. I think it cashes though. Knicks money line, Rockets money line, Spurs money line plus 110 in the market. All right, BK.
You did just sort of sell me on the Spurs -7 because I was looking at that. That's a really good point about LeBron on the second leg of a back-to-back. And even though they're playing well against OKC, this is another one of those post-OKC spots as well that I like to target. So the Spurs are an interesting one. I'm only willing to give up this Clippers win as my 1-star if you cash this parlay. I don't want – the Knicks can't fall short, and then I lose, so that's the way this needs to go down: is Knicks win, Spurs win, and then one of us is going to cash that 1-star ticket.
Yeah, I'm with that. Let's do that. I co-sign that for sure. All right, let's get out of here on a couple king of the court plays. Who you got for KOC?
Well, I've been talking up Kawhi Leonard on a mission, Kawhi. So we're just going to go back to the well on that. He scored 41 points in his last game, filled it up in terms of rebounding and assists as well. The last time he played against the Houston Rockets, he did the exact same thing. Ironically enough, 41 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists the last time he played against Houston. So good in this matchup, good recently. Give me Kawhi Leonard to fill it up, king of the court.
Yeah, I can't be mad at that. I mean, the usage numbers for him is going to be through the roof, but it is against that tough Houston defense. So I got to go with Cooper Flag, man. I don't know if I'm assuming if you listen to Buckets, you've been paying attention to the league, but this guy was on an absolute tear. It was a really tough spot in a duplex spot versus San Antonio that broke the 30-point streak at 4 straight. But he had just played them. Then he had to go on the road and play them again. They had just saw him. They just saw the matchup. If you go back to 129 versus Charlotte when he had 49 points, he had 29 attempts from the floor. He followed it up with 25, 24, and 27. If you're watching the Mavericks, he is doing whatever he wants offensively every single possession, unless Najee Marshall is helping him out a little bit. Outside of that, and Klay Thompson is out in this game as well, Cooper Flag is going to get tons and tons of looks. I've no doubt or no reason to believe he won't be back at 24, 25 attempts from the floor. And in 2 of those 4 games where he scored 30 plus, he added a double-double with 12 rebounds and 10 rebounds in another, and he was just shy of 1 with 9. So he's won king of the court over that 4-game stretch once before. I think he gets right back to the bucket getting and has another big night here against the Suns in the association. Why not? Cooper Flag has been doing his thing. Any thoughts there before we get out of there, BK?
Phoenix has been a house of horrors for teams, so it's really got to all funnel through Cooper Flag, but both of those things can be true. Phoenix, their defense, specifically at home, has been lights out this season, but sometimes you see a great defensive effort where it's just one guy doing all the work and nobody else can get involved. You have a bunch of guys in that starting lineup with single digits. I think that's a way to still get there, but yeah, a lot of respect towards Phoenix. I don't think enough people are paying attention to how good that team has been defensively and specifically on their home floor.
No doubt about it. To recap, 3-star, 2-man weave for the boys. Brandon Kravitz, Sean Little. BK's 3 stars, the Indiana Pacers team total under 105.5. His 2 stars, the Clippers plus 7.5. Let's go, Kawhi Leonard. And little 1-star quarter unit play, Clippers sprinkle on the money line. Sean Little, 3-star, Andrew Nemhard under 10.5 rebounds and assists, minus 130 is the number I saw. Get the best number you can. 2-star, Josh Hart over 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. 1-star, the square, the amateur parlay, Knicks, Rockets, Spurs, money line plus 110. I'll do it for buckets on a Tuesday. For Brandon Kravitz, I am your host, Sean Little. Until next time, which is tomorrow, let's get buckets, baby.